I'm Lindsay Duncan. I'm the Managing Director at Interviews. We're the people that organised and are hosting this evening. So before we start, I'd just like to begin by acknowledging the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, who are the traditional custodians of the land that we're on this evening, and paying my respects to their elders, past and present. So Interviews, we're an IT consultancy. We're based in Perth. We're boutique. We do a number of things, you can see on our banners, around custom software development, data, architecture, and the reason you guys are all here this evening, Atlassian. So we came into that because we're devs, we use their tools, and we kept finding that customers were asking us to build things for them that we could do using full stack code, but we could do them in a tenth of the time using Jira or Confluence as the tool to do it in. And so from that we became Atlassian partner. We were the first gold one in Perth, and we now do training, implementations, and pretty much everything that you could need in that stack. So you're having to listen to me telling you all this because we're the ones paying for the beers this evening. But the real reason why we set this evening up was there's been a huge amount of change in the products that Atlassian have got in the last 12 to 18 months. Those of you that were on server have probably gone through that pain and you're now on the cloud. Those of you that are new to the cloud, good on you for not being on server and going through that pain. And we had Jono Ross from Atlassian coming over to Perth, and we thought this is the perfect opportunity to see what's out there in Perth as a community. We put this invite out there, and we genuinely had no idea whether we were going to get 5 people registering or 50, and we ended up with 90, which we were pretty chuffed with. So great to have you all here. What we would really encourage you guys to do is talk to each other, because what we see going out and doing these implementations is it's a platform, but you can use it for so many different things. It's a service desk, it's a wiki, it's an intranet, it's a process control system, it's da-da-da-da-da-da. So challenge for this evening is go and chat to somebody and find out a different way of using the tool that you're already paying licenses for, make more from it. So this evening we've got Jono, who's itching to come and take some of my coffee, and talk about the future of teamwork. And following on from that, we've got a panel of 3 awesome Atlassian users covering big companies, small companies, and government that I'll introduce you to later. And then after that, open for questions and networking, chatting to each other afterwards. So with that over, I will hand you over to Jono to talk to us about the future of teamwork.
Thanks, Lindsay. Thank you all for coming out here. What an amazing space, hey? This is really cool, and the Atlassian community never fails to astound me of how many people turn up, how much our customers and users love our platform. You all know far more than me about it, and you're all far more experienced in using it, so thank you very much for coming down and spending your time here. I have what I think is the best job in the world. I get to talk to every Australia, New Zealand company, from the largest to the smallest, about teamwork. I get to enable really great teamwork, and I love the outcomes we get. So Lindsay had mentioned all the new products and all that. I probably won't mention a product tonight. I might maybe 1 or 2 at the very end, but really I'm going to talk about the outcomes of great teamwork, because that's what I love and that's my experience in this world. So the qualifier for me to talk about teamwork is the same as everyone else in this room. We're all members of teams in different ways, right? In my past, I played a lot of water polo, and growing up in New Zealand, I played over in Europe, and I experienced some incredible teamwork, because I can tell you, if you're a professional water polo team in Europe and you're getting your talent from New Zealand, you're not getting the best talent in the world, but we had incredible coaches, and we were able to put an amazing team together. So that was an early experience of what really coming together as a well-oiled machine was to me. Following forward and into today, I'm married again, and I co-parent, and that's a whole different team. But we have similar goals, and we have ways of communicating, right? So my point is that we all are in teams everywhere through our life. And then finally, within our our organisations. I'm sure we've all been in teams. We've worked our absolute butts off to do our best possible work and felt absolutely undervalued, and we've all been in winning teams and we know the difference is there. So that's what I love about this stuff. That's what I believe it enables. That's what I believe is the end goal that we get when we get teams running really well. So if you move into the next clicker. Who here has a Breville machine, appliance of some sort at home? Cool, most of the room. Has anyone got a coffee machine like this, similar one of the models? Cool, in our house we've got one. I absolutely love it. If you come over, I'll offer you a coffee. If you have a coffee machine, we'll probably spend the first 10 minutes talking about all the little intricacies and how to get the best shot out of it and all that. Absolutely love it. So Breville is an extremely loved brand in Australia, and they've got a really interesting story. They've got a couple of events in their history that shaped them, and the decisions they made, particularly around teamwork, are super interesting. So I thought I'd share a little bit about that now. So around 2011, a documentary came out on Netflix called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. It had nothing to do with Breville, but a guy ran around the US in an old car and a Breville blender and lived off smoothies and lost a whole lot of weight. And overnight, Breville's market in the US doubled. So they went from being a very Australian-based centric company to having most of their business now overseas and having to meet demand that they'd never come across before. Fast forward a few years and we all went through COVID, all in different ways. When I talked in Melbourne, I think that was a really sad time. I know Perth, yeah, there we go, someone that did COVID in Melbourne. Perth might have been a little better off, but we all started to care about what was on our kitchen bench a lot more when we spent a lot more time at home. And again, Breville's sales went through the roof and they had unexpected demand with no cause of their own. What they did through those times were, they had the choice. They could have done a whole lot of things. Could always go, to overseas manufacturers, cheaper, faster manufacturing, but they wouldn't give up on the quality of their brand. So what they did was they had to rearrange the way they did their teamwork to sort that out. And they brought in a concept called value streams. And what they do now is if they have an idea, they have that idea and they know exactly what the outcome is they want to get, or pretty close to it. And they organize all of their teams, so all of their people, all of the knowledge. They know exactly how they communicate through that to deliver that. So an example is, and again in my household, my wife is gluten-free. Her toast takes 4 times longer to cook than mine. So if I go after her, my toast is, toast. But if they want a new toaster that tells you when your toast is done. So they've got new technologies in there, they've got sensors. They don't have those people in their organisation already, so they've got recruiters and HR looking for who they're going to bring in there. They've got their leaders telling the market how the most innovative company around in their space. They've got their marketers who want to get really precise on the features and they want to launch at a big event, something like the Formula One, and they need to get it exactly right, so they need to know what's coming down the line. They need to order all the products they're going to need. Their salespeople need to be out in Harvey Norman making sure there's space on the thing. So the whole company literally needs to know about this idea from start to go. So they've organised in that way, rather than it handing from one silo to another silo to another silo. And what they can do now is they can come up with that idea, they can decide to execute on it, and they can go through. So whether it's a coffee machine like this, or any idea, a new HR policy, or they're even in the subscription game for beans now, so they're getting this monthly subscription, which is amazing on the balance sheet. So they can create anything. So any idea they want to happen, they know how they're going to do it, how they're going to organise it, and they can see it through. And what was really cool, a couple of weeks ago, we were over at our big convention, and Breville was talking to Williams Formula One, and they actually worked out that they're both using Atlassian tools. They both work in the same way. They're such similar companies. Breville's just putting toasters on our bench, and they've got hundreds of products, and Atlassian Williams, the Formula One team, just has 2 products, 2 cars they need to get going on the week. Breville has very stationary manufacturing plants, and Atlassian Williams takes theirs around the world as they go, but they think about things in the same way, and they can go through there. So you can start to think about it, whatever that end product, whatever that end piece of value is that you're organising to give to your customer. If you can think through all the different pieces that you might need on the way and organise your teams in that way, you can achieve some pretty cool things. Next slide. Cool. So that's interesting. On Breville had those challenges. Formula One, Williams has cars that crash, and that's their challenges. But day to day, we've all got challenges, and they're all quite similar. So I'm going to just talk through some research we've done. I just want you to think and identify and relate that if this is happening in your workplace, or maybe you've managed to solve it. So we've got a team. They're called the Teamwork Lab. They're 10 researchers. They're PhDs from Vail and Berkeley, etc. It's a pretty big research project. I think we've interviewed 12,000 knowledge workers and a few hundred executives from about the Fortune 1000 range, but through Atlassian customers and all across the globe. So this is where some of these facts come from. So the first one is we believe that as the general rule, companies have unclear and overlapping goals. So as human beings, we need to belong. That's how we feel okay. In the workplace, we belong by contributing, and we need to know that our contribution's valued. So if we don't know what we're doing or why we're doing it, it's very hard to be valued in the workplace. We've got executives in the study say that they believe only 24% of work being done actually links to the company's goals. And the research also tells us that our workforce is the most disengaged it's ever been that we've interviewed them. And we think that is a post-COVID hangover, or not a hangover, I think it's a great thing. But as humans, our identity stack has changed. Before COVID, we were very much, our companies would have the narrative that we're part of the family, come in for coffee, stay for dinner, etc. Through COVID, we learned all these new ways or better ways to find value in ourselves. So in our family, in our hobbies, in our community, etc. It doesn't mean we don't want to do good work at work, but it just means that we need to understand and be valued in work. And the way we do that is knowing clearly what our company goal is, clearly what our team goal and how it contributes to that, and clearly what my part in that is, right down to the level of what am I going to do today that actually counts. When I've got that to-do list of 20 things, and there's the one thing that actually counts, and I do 19, and I feel like I've done nothing, we need to know that. So that's one thing that we think is experiencing in a place that within our customers we can change. Now the next two are very interlinked. So we've got too many meetings, too many notifications, and our information's disorganized. In our research, within the Fortune 500, there were 2.4 billion hours of work waste per year in this area. Now that number is huge, and can't even comprehend what it actually means. But the scenario is, and I go through this, and I'm sure lots of us here tonight goes through, is I need a particular piece of information, some knowledge to do my job, right? To get that core work done. I look for it. I look through my emails, some folders, etc. I can't find it. An hour later or something, quite frustrated, I call a meeting with the person that's got it, and they might be available in 2 or 3 days. So for now, that core work that matters stops, and I don't get it done. And that's the real center that we want to focus on. And if we can fix that, we believe we can get a lot more efficient productivity and happier workers there. So the stats tell us that that's what's happening, that over half of us can't get the information we need to do our job. To get that information, we need it from a team, from a different team that has to take a meeting to get. And only 12% of us actually have a system in place that if something material changes in what we're doing that we know is going to affect another team, we have a system in place that can actually tell them. Otherwise, they're blind, and we know they're blind, but they're going to have to come and ask us. Right? So there's a lot of inefficiency around there. And finally, we've got the mammoth battle going on at the moment, I believe, of where we work. Right? So post-COVID, we were all from home. It was this wonderful world, and as employees, we managed to hold on to that. Now there's this big pull back into the office, and different companies are doing it in different ways, and it's a really interesting thing. Who knows how it's going to play out? What we think at Atlassian, or through our research, it doesn't actually matter where you work, it's how you work. So AI, 98% of executives believe that AI is critical to the future of their business, but they're not delivering it in a way that's useful at the moment. So they know it. They know they have to do it, but they're not getting it right. And then 2/3 of workers feel exactly the same way. They know they can do better with AI, they just cannot work it out. And we think the missing ingredient, or the prerequisite, is that for technology to work for us, so for AI to work, we need to be working in technology. So it doesn't matter where we work, but if we're doing work, that information needs to be accessible to whatever tools we're going to ask to speed up. So that romantic idea of being at the water cooler and that conversation leading to something that changed the company, that's awesome. Do that, but make sure it gets into technology so that all we have to do is open up a chat box and then get all that piece of work that we don't want to do ourselves or that can be done better by technology to do. So I think this is really, really relevant and cool for Perth because I'm sure a lot of you work with people on the East Coast all the time, so you're probably pretty used to some asynchronous work or not having overlapping hours. So executives are really concerned about people coming into the workforce today and this work from home methodology and can they give them what they need from there. Our research tells us that if you're new and immature in the workforce, you actually need to have full overlapping time with your manager. You need to have full access to ask questions when you need it to be engaged and do that. But as you mature, as you get good at what you're doing, the ideal time is actually only half overlap. In time, this is where, again, it doesn't matter where we are, but just in time. So we think on average 4 hours a day overlapping with your manager and 4 hours a day to focus on your core work, to have that focus time, and to get good at those asynchronous practices. So when you're the way you create knowledge for your teammates and company to use, etc. The way you communicate, the way you don't need to pull 10 people into a room every time you've got something to say, and you can actually deliver that information for them when they need it, so half the time. If we go to 2 hour overlap, that can work for very senior roles or very metric-based roles, but we do need some sort of overlap. So I report into Amsterdam at the moment, and I've had zero until the time just changed. I've had zero overlap, and with my manager, we get a lot done, but we've admitted it's too hard to work in this way. We do need some overlap. So yeah, that balance is there, but the message is we know that AI is going to make the difference in the future, but it can only make the difference if it's got access to what we need it to do. I make the analogy of when I get on the train after work, Instagram knows that I'm looking at new shoes and it puts the advert up there and does a nice price and it knows it's going to get that click from me and I might buy a new pair of shoes. If it knows that about me, why can't my company give me that piece of information I need when I need it so I can intuitively go through my work day? Next slide. Cool. So Atlassian's got some ideas around this, around the future of work, and we've come up with a philosophy. This isn't an Atlassian product, and this is not necessarily all delivered or could be delivered by Atlassian, but we do believe you need a system of work, and that's a philosophy of how technology-driven organizations should work by connecting technology and business teams to accelerate progress and maximize team impact. So what we're saying there is we need a consistent way to do work and communicate around our work. So whether that's Atlassian or other products or a combination of all that, within the company there should be one way that we do things. Next slide. And then if we want to make improvements, there's only a few principles that we think if we focus on can make a really big difference. The first one, I've spoken about that, the align work to goals, right? We need to belong in our workplace. We need to know why we're doing things. Secondly, we need to plan and track work. We need to understand what we're doing and what the others around us are doing and why that's of value to the company. We need to unleash knowledge. As I said, we need to use AI to help us find it. We don't need to organize our knowledge necessarily, but we do need to have many different ways to create knowledge in as many ways as we can possibly do, and then we need to be able to access that when we need it, and we need to get AI on our team. And if we get these things right, we believe we'll be far forward in the way that our teams are working. And when we get this right, the outcomes are really cool. So but to get it right, so some of our advice around this is accelerate your strategy, right? Companies are doing this. If you see tech companies up there, Spotify, etc., they've been working in this way the whole time, right? So don't come up with this yourself. Come and talk to Atlassian, come and talk to the partners who are hosting tonight, etc. It's been done before. There are some big challenges to get through, but they've all been worked out, and there are big companies running from the same song sheet, tens of thousands of people. So come and talk to us about that. Consolidate and supercharge your teams. So there are, within all of your organizations, modern workers who are already working this out themselves, who work in really, really good and cool ways. The big problem is they're working out their own way, or their team's working out their way, and the next team's working out a different way. So there's this big gap in between. So if marketing's got this wonderful way to work in a modern way, and finance has this other way, they actually need to come out of their system, screenshot to post into the next system. It actually has no net effect or even a slower overall effect. So we need to go out and find those modern workers, and we need to give them a company-wide platform to get them on the same page as all the other teams around them. In that, you are going to find so many tools, a huge tool sprawl that you can actually get rid of and save a lot of money doing this. And that's probably one of the big priorities we're finding with a lot of our customers is getting rid of those many tools that we're using around the company. And after that, expand through those non-modern working teams. Go and give those people who are doing great work, but the outcome of their work is an email with a PDF, which will never be seen again, or can't be accessed to the people that need it afterwards. Go and give them some of these modern tools to work in, and then you've got a whole company that's working from the same page. And those companies, our stats are telling us that most employees will save up to 5 hours of meetings a week. That's great. They'll save up to 5 hours of seeking information, so that's a big frustrating piece gone. They'll spend that time doing work they know matters, so they're feeling good about their work, and they don't have to spend that whole time working. They can pick their kids up from school, they can get to their swim lessons, they can spend time with their parents, be involved in community, and still get everything done you need them to do in your organisation. And they'll say that they come out of their manager employee relationship or team relationship and they actually feel part of their company as a whole, right? So it fundamentally changes the way things are done. This is happening in many organizations, and our best workers are seeking out organizations that have the platform to allow them to work in the way they want to work and live their life as well at the same time and get everything across their whole balanced life done. So I'll go one more slide. That's the end of my talk. I said I wouldn't talk about products, but it is an ACE event, and we did have some announcements the last couple of weeks at our big teams convention. So we've felt that we've been getting a bit confusing because we've been starting to do more and more, and we're going to talk in a minute with a few people about all the different things that we can do in our platform. So we've reorganized the way that we lay out what we do. And we've changed the colors, which is nice, but we've also put it into collections. So where I live in Atlassian is I live in the center area here. So this is for all teams and our apps for all teams there. We've got our leadership collection, we've got our software and team collection, and our service teams. We've also got our platform apps. So things like aligning work to goals, that's going to live down here in home and goals. So anyone who's using Atlassian is going to have access to getting their company goals transparent and clear and everyone to have access to. And right in the center of it is Rovo, which is our Rovo agent, and that is embedded, so there's no charge for Rovo. You will consume it based on the other apps that you have within our place, but all that powered by AI is no longer a separate product that you need to purchase. You'll find it within what you're doing there. So cool. That's my talk for this evening.